Hey guys, this is Pat here from Ranch Country. God is good all the time. So today I got to fix a Maytag refrigerator. It's a Maytag model number M1TX EGMYW01. So Heidi came up to me the other day and said that the food was starting to get warm in the refrigeration part of the refrigerator. And so I went ahead and started diagnosing what the issue could be. And so what I did is I got in here, I found out that the freezer was still freezing. And so I went ahead and started disassembling the ductwork. Took the ice maker out and removed this a steel plate or a steel cover that goes on the back side of this. And I've had this all tore apart, and so I'll show you how to reassemble it so you know how to get to everything. So I removed the motor and all the wiring here. I got the part number off of the motor and ordered up another one. This little guy right here is $35, I believe it is, which is cheaper than a new refrigerator. So why do I think it's the motor that's bad? Well, I went ahead and took the motor off and I wired AC to it direct, and it didn't turn. So that told me that the motor is bad. So I went ahead and got one ordered up. It came in, and so today we're going to go ahead and change that out. So the other thing that clued me in, something up here that wasn't being able to cool the lower part of the refrigerator, is that all the ductwork in here had ice in here. There's some ductwork back here that flows into the bottom portion of the refrigerator, into the refrigerator portion, and from the freezer portion. This back in here, this tray was all filled up with ice, so it had to be thawed out and ice removed from that. And so that told me that the motor was not working. So this was all plugged up with ice in here. I had to thaw all this out. Underneath here is the bottom part of that ductwork. The larger one goes up underneath here. I've already put all this back together, and that was just as simple as pulling that screw there, this screw here, and this screw, and this screw, and those are all 1/4-inch drive. And then also you have to remove that 1/4-inch screw down there too. And then this whole console piece drops out. And then this light fixture, it's a good idea to remove the light bulb in case you drop the fixture, and the light might fall up against this glass shelf here and shatter it. So it's a good idea to remove the light. But there's a pigtail in here that you remove in order to take this whole piece down here. So when I thawed all this out, I went ahead and put all this back together again. Again, there's a little plug-in, there's a pigtail with wiring here that plugs the refrigerator temperature regulator. All this had to be thawed out here. So here we got the motor assembly removed from the freezer, and the first thing you got to do is remove the fan. So you get in there as close as you can to the shaft. It's a little difficult to slide off of there, so I've just got a pair of pliers in the back here prying up and away from the motor, and then I got my hand located underneath the motor just to give it some support, because all this is plastic in here. So you just pop that off of there. It just presses on. As you can see, that's a smooth shaft there. It just pushes on. And you have these little silicone or rubber keepers, that anti-vibration support piece, that little shock absorber that goes in here on this side. You also have one on the back side. Well, in order to remove this black piece from the white piece, which you have to do that. As you can see, there are little keepers that you have to pinch together and push back through the white section. So I'm going to use a pair of pliers, push that back. Do the same thing on the other side. And so then this just pops off of here. Now you just set that aside. And I see a little bit of corrosion right here. I don't know if this is part of the problem, but I did have this out of the mounting hardware there, the mounts, brackets or whatever you want to call them. And I plugged this portion into, I made a special plug for this and plugged this into AC. The motor did not turn, so this is bad. So here's another one of these little keepers or bushings that comes off the back side. While I got this in my hand, I'll just go ahead and transfer it to the new one. Just take the other bushing. These are really kind of a soft silicone or something to that degree. And that just goes right on there like so. Go ahead and get that seated in there. And then this back piece, it just snaps into place. I want to make sure that this little hexagon shaped piece, one of the points from the hexagon runs this way, other hexagon point runs that way to match this piece. That just snaps into place. Then you fit the little silicone keeper or bushing. Here's a close-up of what it should look like when you're done. See, on the back side you have some penetration here with the silicone bushing recessed into this back support piece. And likewise with the front, you can see the bushings in there. The bushing's not folded over. It's not pinched in any way, shape, or form. Then I just give this a little twist with the finger. It's turning free, so we're good to go. So next thing I want to do is just put the fan back on here. So the smooth side goes towards the fan, or towards the motor, and then you can see there's a little stopper here that they have, and you just push the fan back on the shaft there for the motor until it just stops. Okay, we're back at the refrigerator, freezer, and I'll see if I can't remember how to put all this back together again. So you'll notice on the back side here there are little hooks, and the wire actually goes through that hole. You can kind of see how you would thread that wire around that little hook, also around this hook here. The wires are going to run through this little chase here and go through this little hook and then back around that little hook. So you can kind of see the wire, the way it's going to run through here, and it's going to run through these little hook parts. So our first plan of attack is to maybe thread these wires in here. That's going to mount in there just like so. Of course, guys, I got this thing unplugged, so that's going to mount just like that. So I want to thread those wires back around where they were. This will snap back on where it belongs. It had that little clip there. That goes right on that pipe. This portion here is going to go onto the back side of the motor. There's a clip right here. This plug in here goes to this, and that's the motor plug in. Push it in there to where this little catch here engages in this side, so it can't pull out. I give it a good tug, make sure I've got it plugged in all the way. Now this side here, I didn't really need to unplug, but I did. But there's only one way that can go on. There's a little pointed section over here. It's flat on this side, so there's only one way that can go on. This is going to go to your ice maker. So that's going to thread through the next part that I'm going to show you after I get this mounted up. And this also goes on that next part that has to actually this plate that goes in back here. So after I've verified all my wires are hooked up, I'll get my 2 1/4-inch screws lined up to where they used to go. I don't tighten it up really tight until I get the other one lined up. That way I have free movement here. Then I go ahead and tighten that up snug. And tighten that one up snug. So there's 2 holding this on here. There's 2 1/4-inch screws holding the motor assembly in place. No wires are in the way. Motor's free turning. Now if I remember correctly, this piece goes on next. And this just covers the whole back side of the freezer. So I have a wire that comes through here, a tube that comes through here. So these 2 portions here, I have to be cognizant that I don't leave the wires in the back here and forget about them. And so then the ground also goes right here where this little tab is. You can see that little tab, and that's where the ground goes. Now this little shelf in here, it only goes in so far. So you have to pull it one way, drop it down. And I found out the best way to do it, to reinstall it or take it out, is to grab these wires in the back. Those 2 there, those are the only 2 free wires left. Carefully wobble that around there because it's not 1/4-inch steel, so it's kind of fragile. Okay, I got my ground clip on here. I got hold of my wire. I put the bottom in first, and I just roll it up and just carefully work it into place. This little pipe comes through like so. Okay, twist that a little bit sideways so it don't pop back through that hole right there. I just lost it and had to pull that back out again and fish that back out of there. But what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to turn on the refrigerator. This right here is for the ice maker. I'm going to leave it unplugged, and I'm going to go ahead and start the refrigerator and see if we got a fan going on. So because the refrigerator is warm right now, everything should come on. That fan should come on. All the cooling mechanism in the back should be coming on, and I should be able to feel the cold against this metal sheet right here. So we're going to go ahead and get that started. Okay, as you can see, the fan is coming on. And what that fan does is it circulates air and pushes it down this conduit that I haven't showed you yet. It's blowing good. It blows down a conduit and it blows into these openings here into the refrigerator. Okay, these are just Phillips drives here. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of these. And it doesn't take much to hold those, guys. You don't have to really screw those in really hard. Liable to strip them out. We have this little insulated conduit piece, and what happens is the air blows down through this chamber and then out the bottom in order to cool the refrigerator down below. This square portion here actually fits right into the part coming up from the refrigerator, and then of course it's got this little insulating tape, this insulating gasket tape on here to make a seal between the refrigerator and the freezer. And this shroud fits right around that. So you line up the hole in here on the back side of the refrigerator with this chase here, or this plastic chase, and just put one screw in there. Just barely get it started. Then you can snap this all into place. There's little keepers there. There's 4 of those. Just run that up snug. It doesn't have to be terribly tight. And then there's just this little cover that snaps into place right here over top of the screw. Give that a smooth finish. Well guys, I can feel cool air coming out of here. So while I'm putting all this together, that's making a pretty good test. So this screen actually snaps into place once you get it picked up and put into place. You get it centered and then it just snaps in. And now it can't move. Now we have the ice maker. We have the plug-in. You can see where the ice maker mounts. There's a hole here, and I believe a hole down here if I can remember correctly. So I put it up here, and before I do so, you can see these. You can see how these are shaped right here. I can put these screws in a little ways and just hang the ice maker on the screws and then finish tightening them off once I put the hang the ice maker in place. The beauty of that is then I can hold the ice maker out away from the wall and then make my connections with the plug-in here. Just screw them in enough to where this will hang, the ice maker will hang on the screws. And while I have this out away from the side of the freezer, you can see that goes in one way again. Make my connection, and I'm verifying the ground is hooked up to the metal backing here. Now the ice maker can just hang on. Just hang on those hooks. The other thing I got to mention is we have a hole here on the back side of the ice maker that accommodates this little pipe. So you have to thread that through that pipe. And then go onto your screws. Okay, you can see the tube back here. The tube goes right into this little hole. And then the ice maker can just freely hang on those screws that I put in there. Now I can finish off these 2 screws. Okay, the last screw I have to put in up here is on the bottom of the ice maker. And so that's secure. So guys, I did have to remove all of this in order to thaw all this out because it was packed with ice up in here. So all this had to come out. This little cover goes back into place. This little slot here is wider than that slot, so this is sensitive to which way it goes in. And then of course there's 2 little ears here that go up into a couple little holes, and that snaps into place. That comes out pretty easy just in case you have to replace your light. So there's a little finger hole right here. You press that forward, that drops down, and you can see where you have to, your finger has to come up in here and press that forward in order to get this to drop down, and then it then the ears pop out. So make sure you don't break those off. Okay guys, that things are starting to get cold up here. It's working. The fan is working. It's starting to blow cold air down into the bottom portion. So I think we have a success for $35 and a little bit of labor. That fixed that nicely. Again, freezer was working, the fan was not blowing, and the refrigerator was getting warm underneath. So that could be multiple of problems, but the first thing I like to check is the fan, because it's got moving parts in it. So it's most of the time it's either the fan, the condenser fan, or the it's low on Freon or coolant. I hope this video helped you guys out. Comment down below, let us know what you think. Thanks for stopping by. Take care and God bless.